Hello, I'm Cara and this is a 15-minute moon flow. You can do this any time of day, but it's nice to do in the evening, tap into that lunar calming energy before bedtime. So we'll begin in the middle of the mat, bringing the feet together, spreading the toes and the hands into prayer. Elbows lifted, shoulders gently moving down away from your ears. Take a moment to slow down your breath, ground down through your feet and lift up through your center. On the inhale, reaching up towards the sky, lengthening the waist. Exhale, moving over to your left side, stretching down the right side of your body, coming into this lovely moon salute. Inhale, lifting the ribcage up, back to center, and exhale over to the other side, stretching down that left side all the way. Inhale, back to center, and exhale, hands into prayer. Step or jump the arms and legs out into star position, lengthening out of the shoulder and hip sockets. And bending arms and legs into goddess pose. Push the knees out towards little toes. You feel Pada Bandha, the long inner arch of the foot, lifting, energy coming up the inside of the legs. Tailbone towards the floor and belly pulling in. Elbows lifted, shoulder blades down, strong, goddess of the moon. Lengthening back out into star. Pivot the feet over to the right side. Inhale, reaching, and exhale, folding from the hips into Trikonasana. Just be mindful not to lock this front leg, so we don't want to overextend behind the knee. Instead, just spiraling the knee out to the toe, tucking under with the sit bone, rolling the left hip back. Your tailbone lengthening in the opposite direction to the top of your head, and keeping the chin pulling in towards the throat. So you can look up to fingertips, as long as you don't overextend through the back of the neck. As you bring your left hand down, kicking the left heel away from you so you can square your hips towards the center or to the short end, of your mat, and then folding the head down towards the shin. As you press into the back of the outer edge of the left foot, you'll kick with your right heel to push the right hip back and keep rotating your left knee out. So working from your feet up through the legs, the hips. There's a soft natural curve through the upper back. We're not forcing ourselves down. And as you bend both legs, bring the left knee to the floor. Keep the toes tucked so you can drive through that back foot, through the back of the leg, the hip, and up into your crescent lunge, extending the spine as you open the heart to the sky. And bring the hands inside your right leg, pivot to the long end of the mat, toes turning out. You may want to be higher up here, that's fine. You feel this stretch down the inner thigh and groin. Some of you may be lower down, or even here into this half malasana. Just watch this right knee doesn't collapse in. Let's try and keep this rotation outwards through the hip. Maybe even opening as you breathe in. And back down, bringing the hands to the center of your mat, and then heel toe the feet a little bit closer so that you can come down into our malasana squat. Some of you will be quite happy here. Just check the feet aren't rolling in. If you're collapsing into those arches, maybe hips a little bit tight, it's not going to be great for your knees. You may want to be a little higher up or heels off the floor, or any knee issues, you can take a higher squat position. So we move round to the other side of the circle now, taking the feet back to that wide stance as you bend your left leg and stretching the right leg. Remember, we don't have to be down here, you can be higher up. So take it where it's appropriate for you at this time. optional opening of the heart as you breathe in. And releasing. Pivoting around to the short end of the mat, right knee comes to the floor, driving to the ball of the foot, the back of the leg, the hip, lifting the rib cage up and opening heart to the sky, but still taking those steady, slow breaths. Releasing the hands down. As you straighten the legs, you may want slightly shorter stance. You can keep the hips square and both feet grounding into the floor. Lengthening, relaxing through the upper back. Rotating your right knee out. Kicking back through that left hip. And we adjust the back foot as we come into Trikonasana. We want to turn those toes towards the long end of the mat and opening into your triangle pose. Squeezing under the left sit bone, rolling the right hip back, lengthening head and tail in opposite directions. Lifting, then all the way up to standing, turning the toes out, bending arms and legs back into goddess position. Stretching out into star, and then step or jump, hands and feet together. So you can go around as many times as you like. You can go back around the other direction. Maybe going a little slower on some of the rounds, maybe a little bit quicker on some of the others. So see how you feel. Moon energies tapping into our creative side. So it can feel a little intense around the full moon. You can feel that kind of wired energy, or new moon as well, when things can feel a little more intense than usual. A lot of random thoughts or emotions start to stir up. So these moon flows help us to ground, stay calm, but also releasing the hips, releasing that creative energy. So instead of us fighting against that intensity, we allow instead the creativity to flow. So we're going to do slightly different moon sequence now, so a little bit tougher, and we'll see how we go. Feet together, hands into prayer. Slowing down the breath, and inhale, reaching up to the sky. Exhale into your moon salute. You can push the hips out, almost grounding through the feet, and back to center, and over to the other side. And back to center, hands into prayer. Stepping or jumping out into star pose, shining bright. And exhale, bending into goddess. Straightening arms and legs again, and pivoting the toes to the right side, folding at the hips into Trikonasana triangle pose. From our triangle, we move into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon, bending the right leg, right hand to the floor or onto a yoga brick if you have one. As you re-straighten that right leg, left leg's going up towards the sky. Be mindful not to swing it off behind you. Keep it slightly in front of you so you can feel lower belly switching on and the tailbone lengthening. And as you lift the leg up, we're working this area here down the outside of the hip and thigh. Right knee spiraling out to the toes, so strong in that standing leg, chest open. You can stay here, or some of you may want to take the bind, holding onto the foot, kicking the foot away as you come into sugar cane. Still spiraling out with that standing leg. Re-straightening into your half moon. And then as you slowly land, lifting up into reverse warrior. Lifting out that right hip. Exhale, sweeping the hands down inside the leg to the center of your mat, turning the toes out, bending and stretching, yielding vinyasa. We can be higher up here if you wish. Or you can move your arms to flow with you. Or some of you may want to come a little lower, flexing at the ankles. Don't worry so much about the stretch here, but more the movement. Feel the energy coming up the foot, across the leg and the pelvis, back down the other side. That transfer and shift of energy through the body. And coming back to the centre, turning the toes in, heels out, and folding crown of the head down towards the floor, Prasarita Padottanasana. Doesn't matter if your head doesn't reach the floor, or doesn't matter if the legs are a little bit bent. You're just kicking the sit bones up towards the sky, kicking the feet into the floor, opening across the lower back and across the hips. So you can stay here. For those of you that have headstand in your practice, if you want to come up into your headstand here, you have a little bit of time, maybe taking a butterfly leg and slowly descending back into your stretch. Just an option for those of you who usually practice a headstand. Lifting the chest, turning the toes to the left side, bending the left leg, reaching up into that reverse warrior. So you bring your left hand back down to the floor, straighten the left leg, lifting right leg up into Ardha Chandrasana, spiraling the left knee out, standing leg, working into the outer hip on the top leg, so trying to stack top hip on top of the bottom one, taking the bind into Shukakane if you did this on the other side, kicking the foot into the hands, still lengthening the lower back, and stretching through the front of the hip, re-straightening the leg. As you bend the leg, placing the right foot to the floor, then re-straighten the left leg into Trikonasana, triangle pose. We've been here before, starting to feel a little familiar. Lifting then all the way up to standing, turning the toes out, bending arms and legs into goddess. Maybe a little bit of movement now to go a bit deeper into the hips. Straightening arms and legs into star. You may want to take a little back bend in this star, tailbone to the floor, chest bone up towards the sky. And then step or jump, hands and feet together into the center. Namaste. Good. So these are just two examples of little moon sequences you can do. There are plenty of others as well. And as I said at the beginning, you may want to do this in the evening. And I have a 15-minute evening wind down, which is a nice gentle flow that you could combine this with, and also a 15-minute rest and restore, which is a supine restorative sequence that you may want to follow your moon flow with. So those are just a couple more you can try. I hope you enjoyed watching this sequence, and namaste.